Well, hello and welcome to the wrap. This is episode number 57. It is Thursday, August 17th. I'm Nathan Guerra, and Anna Russell is out. We wish her a quick healing after a little bit of surgery. She's doing well. I got a picture of her with the thumbs up and saying time for some recovery. And Si is going to be sitting in. He was going to be the guest today, but instead he's going to be sitting in as a co-host. Si Bradeley, good to have you here with us, Si. We'll give maybe a little introduction. I think most, though, that watch this program should know exactly who Si Bradeley is, but after the quick introduction here, we will introduce him as well. Well, you would think that something major happened today, because that's not in the show notes, because suddenly the YouTube channel has absolutely blown up with chat from the get-go. We'll get all into what just happened with MyWhoosh this morning. That's obviously going to be on the docket. It wasn't actually a part of the show notes until, bam, this morning, something happened. So we'll talk a little bit about that. We've got the Zwift Insider Epic Series to chat about. We've got the movements within the elite teams in the esports cycling world. We'll be talking about some of the drafts that have been happening, people looking to try and maybe snipe some riders onto their rosters. We also have a really interesting article that released from the Zminike that says that Zwift partners with IndieVelo for performance verification, which is pretty cool to see that. We'll talk more about that as well. Coach's Corner is going to be a quick one this week. We're going to do it right alongside our ZRL previews of the courses, as our other coach isn't here with us this week with Anna, so we're going to just focus in on the preview of the courses for the upcoming ZRL season and do some Coach's Corner alongside of that about what kind of workouts in the next 4 weeks you might be able to do for a crash course to get ready for the Zwift Racing League round number 1. The red race kit looks pretty cool. We'll give you a 1 out of 10 out of that as well. Let us know what you think about it in the comments. And if you didn't know, this is a podcast as well, not just a live show. You can download this anywhere that you find your podcasts. It is Zwift and the Wrap. Just search that on Google or anywhere you get your podcast. Should find it real quickly. Otherwise, you can always head over to ZwiftCommunityLive.com and find every single one of the episodes on our podcast tab. Well, it's going to be interesting. Let's first, though, talk about what we usually do, because we are Zwifters. We are people who like the indoor cycling space. What have we been up to for last week in relation to that? Si, give us a little introduction to yourself for the viewers and what you've been up to when it comes to anything cycling and esports last week, last month, last year.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me back. It's good to be back on the show. And yeah, a bit of a surprise to me this morning when I learned that I was going to be co-hosting with Nathan, because I think I have co-hosted before, but with Anna. So it's good to be sat here with you two, Nathan. And I thought it was going to be an exciting show because we were going to be talking about ZRL. But as you said, so much has blown up. But yeah, a little bit of summary. I think when I first came on the show, I was like Si Bradeley, the recon guy. But I noticed now it's like Si Bradeley, the cycling esports content creator. It's got so much broader now. But you know, maybe that's a reflection on where our sport is going as well. You know, and yeah, I guess I do much more than reconning because I get invited on shows like this with you. And of course, I do a lot of work with Chris over on the Virtual Velo podcast as well. What have I been up to this week? Actually, the last 2 weeks, Nathan, it's been pretty easy for me, recovery point of view, because I'd spent probably the 3 months leading up to that trying to, well, I qualified for the UCI Fondo Worlds up in Scotland. So 2 weeks ago, I went and raced the UCI Fondo, which was...
I saw stories. I saw your social posts about that.
Yeah, well, I was pleased to finally to be able to wear a GB jersey, because I remember I made it back in my 20s. I made it onto the academy, but I never actually got to wear one of the. I remember you having this discussion about your regionals. So I remember having the same thing in the UK. I wore a regional jersey, and the next step as an under 23 was to get to that national. But yeah, it never became a reality. So this time I decided that now I'm an age group athlete that I would try and make to get that jersey again. And I very not so subtly just put it over my shoulder there as well, so you probably can see it. But it was pretty cool, because I can say that, you know, I was rubbing shoulders with like Johnny Hoogerland. You know, I don't know if you remember Johnny Hoogerland.
Oh,
He's the guy that rode into the barbed wire fence, right? And
he won, right? He won the whole thing, right?
No? Yeah, he won the age group. Yeah, so I'm 40 to 44, and he won the age group. You know, and yeah, for that first 50 miles, I was shoulder. Well,
did he get beat though in the overall? Like, is there even an overall for that? Like, do they even? No. Okay.
Yeah, time wise, I never checked. No, because obviously the younger boys, let me say, 18 to 29 or whatever that age group is, the seniors, they were considerably quicker. Let me put it that way. Okay. Than us, you know, maybe 6 minutes quicker than our particular group. But yeah, to be rubbing shoulders with him, and then unfortunately at 50 miles, I had a bit of an injury that I've been suffering with for 10 years reoccurred, which it's been ongoing. Every time I get over 60 miles at any kind of decent pace and speed, I think up to that point we'd average like 27 mile an hour on a lumpy course, which was it was quick. You know, there was 180 in the field. We were absolutely flying.
Do you have some power files on that? I mean, that's
yeah, for the first 50 miles, they're decent. Although put it this way, I was reasonably efficient. I was comfortably in the pack, just surfing the front 30 wheels. Okay. So then I dropped back to the second group then, and Alexander Vinokurov came over us as well. So there was like 10 miles where we're all sat on Vinokurov, who was on this gold Villiers. This super tanned blonde hair guy came up beside. I'm like, that is one. And I'm like, that's a nice bike. And then, hang on, he looks familiar. And it's only the I'm not sure if he's the owner or team manager of Astana now.
Astana, yeah.
Absolutely incredible. And I think he even caught Johnny Hugeland's group. That's how rapid he was. And there was just 2 or 3 left in his group. He had, in 50 miles, he had got across to us a 10-minute gap from the start.
What?
They were 10 minutes behind us. Yeah, he's like 2 age groups above me. So absolutely crazy.
So they actually started you separate for age groups too, so that you didn't mess with each other.
Yeah,
interesting.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So you go off. I think it's 5-minute intervals between the different age groups. Yeah, exactly that.
So he was just on a freaking like mission. He was just like.
I mean, at what point he decided to leave his comfortable peloton of 180 riders? God knows. But like I say, just over the 50-mile mark, he had closed a 10-minute gap.
What was the total? What was the total distance that you raced?
It was 160K. So yeah, 100 miles.
160K. Yeah, gotcha.
Yeah,
100 miles.
It's
a century.
Gotcha. Pretty lumpy as well. But
I'll tell you what, how much elevation? How much elevation was there?
There was 2 major climbs, but I forget. It wasn't that bad.
It wasn't the same as the elite road race or anything, right?
No.
Like what? No.
No. We never went near. We did not go near that Glasgow circuit.
Okay.
We were slightly further north. It was a really cool actually, because a lot of the different events, the time trial, the Grand Fondo, the track events, the BMX were all over Scotland. So
okay,
from that point of view, the fact that the UCI got all the events happening in the same place in the same time, I know there was some timing conflicts with the track riders wanting to do multiple events and so on, but I think it did really create a great atmosphere. But I tell you what, the key thing to me, bringing it back to Zwift, was the support that I got from, just as simple as being able to hand up a feed midway through the race. I managed to call upon a Zwifter, who I'd met through this platform. And pre-event and post-event, I met with other Zwifters as well. I travelled up and, we shared digs with 2 other Zwifters from Team Dirt who'd also qualified in different age groups. So to be able to just surround myself with these bunch of Zwifters, dare I say it, and go and qualify and ride a UCI World Championships was just an incredible experience. It didn't end the way I wanted to, but it was an incredible experience. And so this week has been relatively easy. I say that. Alex,
did you feel smashed afterwards? Did you feel absolutely were you okay?
No, the problem was I didn't. I just felt mentally trashed because I was so let down that this injury.
Did you make some mistakes so you had an injury? You actually had an injury.
Yeah, okay. I've got an injury that I have had on and off for 10 years. I did do a video on it recently. I've got a really long left leg. I've got a long left leg compared to my right. And Alex the coach, has done a lot to try and sort out my efficiency on the bike. But ultimately, I haven't changed my insoles, my orthotics in my shoes for quite a long time.
So you get knee or hip issues, one or the other. Which one is it?
Bit of both.
Okay, gotcha.
Mainly in the hip, but it's my adductor. There's some stability issue in the left foot that's causing this issue further up the system in the chain. So the next step is trying to sort. So I didn't feel wrecked. I just felt deflated for about a week after. So I took a couple of days off the bike and then spoke to Alex.
Well, we're both in similar situations here. So I'll go into my last week because
go for it.
Last week I was like, all right, I'm going over to shore. Here we go. I'm prepped. I'm ready. And we get there the day before, and I'm like, okay, I think engines are go, but I could go into threshold and be fine. But when I went really hard, it was my body was saying, hey, not right now. I was like, what the heck is that? Cause usually the week before I did my pre-ride at Reforestation Rambo, which is another kind of prep race, but it's a Wisconsin state series race, and felt amazing. And I did my pre-ride full gas, set some KOMs. I mean, full gas on one loop. It's like a 15-minute opener. Boom, boom, boom. And I go to do our little scope out. We do the first 8 miles backwards and then come back at Ore to Shore. It's Ore to Shore's they claim the largest point to point event in Michigan. Now I think Iceman would probably be like, hey, we get 5,000 riders. I don't know, but they are the longest point to point for 48 miles with the most attendance. Maybe in Upper Michigan, I don't know, whatever on that side, but. It's a really big race. It's got some good prize money. And not to all downer. Gabby won her race by 6 minutes, first time ever doing it. So freaking awesome for Vision. Yeah, she absolutely killed it. Totally killed it. When it came time, when it was serious go time, like I had the threshold, I felt comfortable every single time any attacks went, but just could not recover. And that's how I felt the day before. I was like, what is going on? So I get dropped at Misery Hill. It's called Misery Hill because it's literally just like shale rock and you have to run up this, like, I don't know, probably like 300 meters of just like straight up. Like it's like,
I don't want to ride anything that's called Misery Hill.
Like, I mean, well, like people have tried riding it and only like 2 people in the history of the race, I think, have gotten halfway up or something. Like it's like, oh, wow. I mean, it's like sand and old mining shale rock all just on, you just can't ride it. So, and usually another split happens there because immediately after you're riding over just like rock formations and like super technical. And like, if you don't take the right line, you have to get off and run your bike, etc. So, and there was just a moment I remember I thought I gave up, but there was like, it was like my body was saying, stop running. Like, it was like I went to push a little more to get to the top with the front guys. There was 5 of us at that point. And I remember my leg just going, I don't want to fire. And I made it fire still and started walking almost instead of running. I was like, what is going on? So, but I had like my heart rate stayed at like what I do my sweet spot at. It stayed at 150 to 160 and I averaged 300 watts for the next 2 hours or whatever through the finish of the race. And my average power was like almost 300 watts. Like I had amazing threshold power, but like when I got done, I started shaking and had aches and I couldn't drive home and got a headache. And I was like, oh, are you kidding me, dude? So for the last 4 days, I've just been laying in bed until yesterday. And yesterday I finally got out. I was like, okay, the rule is if you're sick, but you're starting to feel better and you think you can do something, zone 2 only. So I went out and did zone 2 yesterday. Felt good for the zone 2, but still kind of like achy. And I was like, man, I picked up some sort of like virus at like the worst freaking time ever, peaking for this race and like frustration. So I feel like I don't have an injury, but I have like some uncontrollable, you know what I mean, that like got in the way of this.
You know what it's like when you're on the edge of of that fitness, when you're really peaking, you are sensitive to these things as well. So I consider myself quite lucky when I rolled up to the start line that morning and I was not ill. I hadn't been ill for the 2 weeks before. Then I thought this is going to be good, and then. Yeah, that came on, but then I have upset Alex this week because I wasn't meant to be doing a lot, and then Monday I think I did 4 races back to back because I just needed.
You just need to do it. I need to use this for something.
I needed a mental pick me up. So I was like, I've got to record some recons. I need to get my head around PD 4.1 or whatever on now as well because. I
forgot to put that in the show notes. There's so many things. This is crazy. Like, okay, all right. So that's what we've been up for the last week. Sorry, everybody. Nathan didn't perform to the expectation I set up for myself. Shore to shore. We got Schwamagon coming, which I don't know if you saw what Keegan Swenson did at Leadville 100, but I got to race Keegan Swenson in a month, and like he beat the old record at Leadville 100 by 20 minutes. 20 minutes, and the last record was set with a team of people rotating, actually. Like Keegan, there's people claiming that Keegan's the best U.S. rider that there is out there right now. Now it's like, well, Sep's maybe got to come back to the mountain bike for a little bit or something, or like, Keegan, go do something on the world scene, because you're just like, I'm so happy for him that he has found out a way on U.S. soil to make a living riding your bike, because that's really difficult to do, like super difficult to do. But at the same time, he's not in the world pool. So like, I'm not taking away, like he just did something totally crazy. Now I want to see, I'm actually saying like, cool, man, go show it off to the whole world, because that's nuts. Because I want to see how it matches up for real. Like, yeah. So anyway,
it's funny you mentioned that, because last night I had a bit of time and I watched YouTube. So I watched Lachlan Morton's Leadville 100 video
and he's doing
YouTube.
Break Up It right now immediately after.
So, yeah, and he was absolutely targeting Leadville and essentially got smashed.
Yeah, I mean, I think he tried going with Keegan. I saw him on his wheel and some of the stuff, and I think he tried because I think he wanted to like really.
Well, he had a technical early on. I think he got swiped and his sidewall blew out.
Is that what happened?
So
I didn't see that. Okay.
But then what he said is he was trying to make a decision here. Does he pace himself and conservatively get round on the strategy that he planned, or does he go full gas to get back on the group early, and then or as soon as he could, and then make decisions? And that's what he chose. And he just burnt too many matches early on to try and get back in that group. So he got back. And then, whatever the first major dirt climb was that I saw them going
on. And that's a good choice if, like, you suddenly don't have somebody just, like, the moment you hit that climb, like, somebody just pulled the throttle full gas. So, interesting. All right, well, we're all over the place. Here we go. So, the PD4.1, real quickly, just so everybody knows, PD4.1, it looks like is, what did you see about it, Si? What did you see?
In terms of the technical information, it's difficult to know exactly what changes they've done. But again, I think the message is the same. It's about trying to not necessarily reduce the speed of the pack now, because that's what 4.0 did. But again, just creating the dynamics. So if you get that gap as an individual or a single group, it's easier to hold or to extend that gap.
So you don't get the roll through, because there was a complaint that you still get roll through from the pack. So it sounds like PD 4.1 is all about stopping the churn within the pack. And there'll be a little bit also, I think, in sprints that are affected, but for coming over the top of other individuals in a sprint as well. Like, you really got to work to come over the top. But if you do this increase, it looks like over 10% of your previous power in the last 10 seconds or something like that, you actually get a CDA decrease. So you actually get more aero. So that actually will negate, it sounds like, that inability to go past people as easily if in a sprinting situation. So in sprinting situations, everybody actually speeds up even more.
Yep.
But if that makes sense? But in a situation where it's like more of a break situation, it's going to actually, what's interesting is I think it allows people who are jumping to get away from people quicker. So like trying to make breaks happens easier just from the sprinting pass point of view. But then you also don't have the churn. So it's kind of like a double whammy to encourage breakaways.
Yeah, absolutely. And, 3 of the 4 races that I did on Monday were all either individuals or a small group of 2 or 3 riders that managed to escape and stay away. And I'm comfortably sat in the front 10 riders.
And those were all 4.1. Those were all 4.1. That was all 4.1 or no?
I think they may have been, or at least 2 of them were 4.1. I think. But okay, I was sitting in the group thinking, they're coming back, even if, because they were 7 or 8 seconds up the road, even if it comes down to the final 500 in the sprint, they're coming back. And I never saw them again, and then you're kicking yourself thinking, well, should have we gone? So this is what I'm going to be spending the next couple of weeks doing now, is getting to know those dynamics, because we've got 2 scratch races coming up in ZRL. I know we're going to get to that shortly, but this could have an influence on, on how those races are going to roll out as well. So I know we'll come on to that, but I guess the other thing that we've got to talk about is, the movement of riders. And I was saying to you pre-show, one of the big things that I've seen this last month, July and August, is the socials with the team developments, the transfers of riders, and the development of teams. I saw that WLC yesterday, for example, put a post out there looking for elite riders. We know that Next this season have obviously got their ladies team going. We can talk. I mean,
you have to have a ladies team now for GrandPrix. So like every one of those teams that don't have a ladies or a men's team as well are going to be out there recruiting and trying to make something happen pretty quickly here. They have a little more time. They don't got to be ready as of September, is it 12th, right? September 12th. They don't have to be ready as of September 12th. They need to be ready in the middle of October. So they got an extra month, but still, like, 2 months to put everything together, that's not a lot of time.
Yeah, but I mean, they do have to have a team, but as I understand it now, the GrandPrix is not going to be co-ed. So it's not, I guess it's not essential now, because you don't necessarily need.
So did you see a new announcement? Did you see? I didn't see anything.
I believe that's the way it's going to go. Is that
where did you? I'm just wondering, where did you see that? Where did you see an official? I haven't seen anything.
Maybe it's just the rumor mill, but maybe I've already said too much. But no, I think those elite teams have already been made aware that the point structure will not be co-ed this time around. But I think absolutely the indication, whether it be this Grand Prix or the next Grand Prix, that is the way that Zwift is moving. And we saw that at the Worlds, didn't we? With the co-ed, the Olympic Esports Week. We saw that co-ed situation there as well. So absolutely, for those teams that didn't
I think
have
that
it,
maybe there was some pushback on the shared destiny part of things, but I think that you have to have a men's or women's team, though, at least. Like, that's still a part of...
Maybe so.
Yeah,
maybe so, because I mean, one of the other changes I'd seen, and I'm bringing this one up as well, was the ABUS, what was ABUS Lacol. I've seen that they have now, men's only team. I know they had the ladies with the BZR set up, but the ABUS Lacol is no longer ABUS Lacol. It's ABUS Synergy, because they've merged with the ladies only team, which is Synergy Race and Power, I think they were. And the other thing there, I have to mention this commercially, Nathan, as you know, but they're no longer ABUS Lacol, because LevelVelo, the brand I own, essentially, put it that way. I was trying to put that another way, but own is supporting that team this year as well. And we've made that our mission, is we want to support these teams, and I'm really happy that the ABUS have come on board, or ABUS Synergy have come on board as well. But there's been a lot of movement in riders as well, and I think what we've seen, I'm part of the Level team as well. We've had some, Liz Van Houwen, who's gone to Next now, was part of our team. We've also got another couple of riders. For the first time, we've started to see approaches for riders and transfers, and almost, for the first time, commercial terms almost being offered as well, which I think, I feel quite positive about. That makes me feel like the sport is moving forwards, and hopefully we're moving closer to getting paid elite athletes in this sport as well.
We have a message coming through on live chat that Christopher Schwenker, thanks a lot, from Zuma Unit K, put through, and the response from Zwift was, "We have listened carefully to the concerns raised, and as a result, we have decided to move back to separate men's and women's team classification with no combined points table as in 2022-23. So same as we had back then." So cool on Zwift to hear the feedback from I had a feeling the teams might have been like, whoa, we can't handle this. This is a little too much, like, for us.
We need more time
bear right now. So yeah. Sure. So, okay. So on that front, there's definitely a lot of, it kind of threw the fox among the hens a little bit to be like, whoa, a scramble. But I think the scramble then made it so that there was all of this, we got to find people and figure out some way to get people onto the teams. And that was a little, even though like things have changed a little bit, it did, cause a lot of recruiting suddenly to happen, and a lot of movement within that community of racers to try and find people to, up their game, and the teams to up their game as well in some ways to try and offer as much as they can, it seems like, to the riders. Now the question is, like, what can be offered, and is there a product there that's able to do something as far as that goes? So that's a whole nother bag, that's a whole nother, I'm not going to say can of worms. That's a whole nother discussion. Maybe we put down the line of another episode, but this is one after another, everybody. Zuna K put out an article that they just got referenced actually as well in the chat, actually, that Zwift forms an esports cycling esports platform partnership. Swift forms working partnership with cycling esports platform IndieVelo for anti-cheat oversight. So now up front, because we have Zwift and now we have IndieVelo, you have like something that looks like things have changed a whole bunch. But like I saw Martin Carew made a comment like, hey, from WTRL, Martin Carew owns WTRL, was like, well, it makes a lot of sense. Like nothing changed. Like things changed, but I do think things have changed. I'm not saying nothing changed, but like the guys who run IndieVelo, they were Zada. So like it's like, well, they went, but now it's interesting because they have their own platform, but they're providing anti-cheat oversight. So one of the things that George from IndieVelo, and his main thing, it seemed like, was he wants to move this whole thing forward. He made a platform specifically for the sake of creating a as highly verified space for the elite level of this sport. And it seems like it's almost like he's got a playground to play in, and it's work. Like now he can go and test what's in his playground on with the market leader, which is Zwift. I think it's a great move forward for this partnership to be forming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the personnel are the same. Ultimately, the same people who were heading up, with Dr. George and Bjorn there, are the same people who are running Zarda who are now running IndieVelo. So, no change from that point of view. It makes a lot of sense because I think we're all asking the same question: who was going to do, at that elite level there, who was going to be doing that validation, that verification of the riders and the data and so on? And I think you're exactly right. What you just said there is, maybe what they didn't have before was the access to the technology, the test grounds to really test what they could measure, because ultimately I know that Zarda or, Dr. Gilbert and Bjorn were partners with Zwift, but they weren't in Zwift.
No,
but
and
I
they
think
didn't
now
have,
they've
there was no, from my understanding, there was no dev reins, there was no like space for them to work on actual product
exactly.
outside of what they owned to do verification. So now it's like they have their own product to like do proof of concept around all of that stuff and then be able to deliver it to the platform that's Zwift. Now, hopefully it jives, but I mean, it seems like a great concept.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that this whole concept of utilizing and pulling in a general term, the experts in these particular fields, you want the broadcast specialist to come and do your broadcast, like yourself and GCN and so on. You want the verification specialist to come in and do their job. And I think we also, for me, there was always a question when the verifying body had Zwift in the name, that also it jarred with me sometimes. So I think the more independent that part of the process, I guess myself and other athletes, maybe feel a little bit more comfortable with that as well. So yeah, I think that's a positive move.
100%. Yeah, interesting stuff. You can check that article out over at Zumina K. It came out on the 14th of this month. Now, I think the biggest bombshell of all the bombshells of this week, the Zwift Insider Epic Series. We'll do that. I'm just kidding. Real quickly, we'll do that one here. Zwift Insider Epic Series. Go check out Zwift Insider. I love what they're doing. It's the opposite of tiny races. If you want to go out and do something that is a huge, long race, Eric feels that there's a call for that in the community. You do have a community that does like endurance events for sure. They are progressively harder throughout the Zwift season in this Epic Series, and I think participating in them, it looks like there's going to be some tracking around it and stuff and seeing how it all matches up. So go check that out. They just announced it. Well, Eric just announced it over at Zwift Insider. Absolutely love that he's doing that. All right, that was a little letdown of the crescendo. MyWhoosh,
before Nathan goes.
Yeah, well, MyWhoosh got the bid for UCI Worlds for a 3-year contract. It just went out everywhere. Like this morning, I think there was multiple news outlets that put it out there. I got probably 5 messages all at the same time. I got all at the exact same time. I got private messages. Hey, da-da-da. Hey, da-da-da. Hey, da-da-da. I got one from you as well. Like, hey, what's this all about? Like with linking to this because... And I said to Gabby and she was like, what? And I think I think that's kind of the initial, what? Like shock, actual shock.
Yeah.
So what's your initial response, Si, before I go on?
Yeah, get mine out of the way first because Nathan's about to go.
Well,
I think,
no, I don't know about that.
No, I was the same as you. I mean, Chris Schwenker sent me the article this morning, and even my wife, who doesn't Zwift, she doesn't esports. I was lying there in sort of on the sofa reading this article, and I said to her, "This happening." She doesn't even ride, and she's like, she was shocked. That's how major this news was. Look, there are a lot of question marks around the platform, the dynamics, all those things. Ultimately,
so before we can do any details, like maybe like big view, like what's the okay, so I'll maybe set like a stage just a little bit for like initial shock. Like this changes everything about what was moving forward. It feels like in some ways there's been one way things have been done And now that's out of the like that's not no longer how things are done. Like that's kind of how that feels a little bit as far as like how things have worked for the last 3 years. We've had 3 world champions. You know what I mean? We've had these championships, and now everything is like, whoa, this changes everything as far as trajectory goes. It feels like where we currently were standing, like our orientation, maybe not totally 180-degree change or anything. I think our orientation, though, about like how things work in this space suddenly goes like this a little bit, if that makes sense.
I think you can see the fact that the bidding, as I understand it, was quite competitive this time, because I think actually we were meant to hear this announcement a few months ago, because we're creeping ever so closer to the Worlds 2024 already.
So something was up, like something's up, something's going on here.
Yeah. So, and actually, I think sources on the ground from what I could hear and, and what I was hearing from other people is that I was totally sideswiped by the fact it was MyWhoosh, because I was hearing Zwift were in the running. I was hearing that ASO were even in the running for this as well. Maybe partnered with somebody else, an IndieVelo maybe. And I'd heard that MyWhoosh were in the running, but my view was, based on what we'd heard, that they were quite far behind the other 2 players in this space. So when that finally came through this morning, it was a real shock. But the other aspect that made me think, I think, it was a month ago or 2 that the 2028 Worlds are also, I think it's the 2028, they're in the UAE as well. So that also was announced a month or so ago. So there's a lot happening, in that space with the UAE. And obviously the team UAE are, sponsored by MyWhoosh, and that raises its own questions. But you can look at it in 2 ways. In terms of the money, yes, MyWhoosh have potentially skeptically thrown money at the UCI, but at the same time, they have put money into the sport, and you saw that with the championship, regardless of the technical racing aspects and the dynamics and so on. One way or another, and I've spoke about this before, I know you have, that, we just spoke about it with the transfer of riders, that money coming into the sport is not necessarily a bad thing. Throwing money at the UCI is another topic, but putting money into the sport is another. So I think you can look at it in 2 ways at the moment. I'm just holding judgment. I think also, hopefully, the UCI are going to turn their attention to MyWhoosh, and they're going to have to go through some checks and some validation and look at their coding, look at their dynamics, look at how they verify riders. So I'm thinking, MyWhoosh potentially going to have to bring in third parties themselves, as we just spoke about Zwift.
Yeah, that was my question. So who knows? When you start, I mean, you said a lot of things right there. Okay, you said a lot of things that would have to be like, whoa. That last one is like, well, who at the UCI is going to do that? Like, who at the UCI knows anything about that? I don't know. Like, and so, yeah.
We knew that ASO we have a third
party now. We have a third party now that just partnered with Zwift. Now, my question, are their hands tied? Like, with that was just signed. Like, something was just signed. And is that an exclusive partnership with Zwift? Where do the UCI go now when the main player in verification is with Zwift and they're not partnering with that platform any longer? What? And then on top of that, like, I mean, that's been one of the main questions when it comes to MyWhoosh. Like, we interacted with since I'm in this space, like, we did one of their Sunday Race Club series. There was a bunch of money on board. Like, Gabby did all of the verification. She went to all of the standards that had been set up both by MyWhoosh and the standards that were set up by Zara, and she got disqualified and beat by people that looked like they were doing numbers that were beyond World Tour for males amongst the women. Like, that's our experience. I'm just being honest about our experience. And we said, we're not racing on the platform anymore. Like, because that was what happened to us. And I was like, this doesn't seem fair. Like, and so major red flags for me. Like, so how are they going to go about remedying that if now the people who were making things fair are no longer available on the market? Now, I don't know that. This is all conjecture. You know what I mean? I mean, you can't just throw money at like, and I said this in pre-show, like, and this has always been slightly an issue. And I've said this before about the whole space, is that there needs to be a product that people are paying for. And we have a product for riding on a platform. We have a product for people having fun racing. Are we ready for sport? And is there a product that is a commercial sport entity? Like that's a whole different topic, right? And like some people have said it in the community that MyWhoosh is paying people to ride on their platform, and that's what the Sunday Race Club was. Like they're essentially just paying people to come. Like that's not how you grow a platform. Well, I don't know. Maybe that's how. I don't like. That's a really. I don't know. We're like politically. Like if we look at it from a political standpoint, it's like beyond a social benefits program. It's like is it a communist program? Like, how are they going to do it? Like, I'm just kidding. That's a joke. I'm not calling like, whoa, sorry. Whoops. So like, but you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm saying like, you can't just like hand money to people to ride the platform. I would think like if you want to have a product, it has to be desirable in a market that people are asking for it with their dollars in some sort of way or with their eyeballs, which then produces dollars. And so, you know, I just don't understand how you see that all playing out. So, but does this mean that now that's a lot of like, I don't know if I was necessarily like I guess that's critical. But then on the other side of it, I'll play like, let's steel man it as much as I can, right? I do not like just sitting here and straw man. I don't think there was too much straw in what I just said, but you could say that there was some. So let's ironclad them as much as we can. Are they going to then infuse all of this money? We're assuming there's a bunch of money. That's the only way that I could see that this would happen. And then from there, like that money gets used to do a bunch of awesome things that we've been asking for. And hopefully the UCI go and find the people to do that. Like that would be the only steel argument I could see with this. Cause you said, well, there's money coming in. That's not a bad thing. The question is where does it go and what is it used for? I would think.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you know, I think that verification aspect, I assumed at the start that the delay in the announcement for the 2024 Worlds at least was because the UCI was going through these different checks. And it wasn't, you know, my rose-tinted glasses, that it wasn't just about the money, that they wanted to go through the process of making sure that those technical aspects that, you know, I've seen Aaron mention it in chat, for example, about the finish line, you know, one thing or another, that, you know, that was a question mark over, you know, the cycling esports Olympics, for example. You know, the verification of athletes now, ZARDA doesn't exist. So I assumed that they were going through those steps before this announcement today. You know, but then now I'm thinking, have they done that? Have they just looked at the money? You know, and then are they going to do those checks now? Either way, I'd like to know, you know, being in this space as you are, I'd like to know, and I'm sure the elite athletes would like to that, you know, as well.
Well, there's one thing, okay, on that front too, like, okay, speaking of money, like, Zwift have put a lot into this space too, for a long time. And I've got one of my friends in the community, I'm not like, they said this morning, I read one of the messages, I feel bad, like a little bit for like, wow, like all this work was put in by a platform. And then it's like, whoa, what just like, it just, boom, you know what I mean? And yeah, it's interesting.
I had messages like you today that were, you know, if people, you know, who ride Grand Prix and at that elite level, who were just absolutely shocked and were like, you know, it's like the whole world had changed, you know, and it's just changed.
In this space,
you know,
in
this space, you know, and it was, you know, I think that people totally do, because they've got that history and that, you know, it's a short history of esports, but we're all, you know, intensely passionate about what we do, you know, and in this space, and we all want the growth to come. So when something like this happens, you know, we're a little bit dumbfounded. I'm still in shock now. You know, and I don't know what that's going to mean in terms of even the content I put out over the next couple of years. You know, just from a professional
now, 3 years
level.
is a long time. 3 years is a long time.
Yeah.
And you know, a competition just got created. If people still want to compete in that competition, if these entities want to go, okay, really, like, and I don't know if it's a money game. I'm not sure it's a money game. In my opinion, the heyday of this space was not necessarily around Worlds. That's my opinion. Like, the heyday of this space, when the most viewership was coming directly out of the community, was prior to that. Out of this community. I'm not saying that we don't go market. I'm not saying that we don't go do the big show. I'm not saying, but the time when we had this like surging community is a time when it was like the Canyon ZCC, Kiss Racing League, like the Kiss, like there was this, the surgence out of the community that had a lot of eyeballs coming from the people who were riding and racing Zwift and were really getting behind it and seeing benefit personally, organizationally, from being involved in the space in some sort of way that had some ownership happening there in a very natural way. And so I'm wondering if like there's going to be like, okay, well, we've like almost a forced shift to be like, well, if it's not going to work through the organizing bodies that are governing worldwide and it's gone somewhere else, we've done this before in another space in another way. And we might see this like competition start to happen between those two ways of doing this.
But I think, you know, what you've just said there is, in this community, it's a small community.
Yeah, can you sever it even though too? Like, can you do that?
You know, I've spoken about this a lot, and you know, and I know I've said the same thing a few times, but I want to get young people into the sport. I don't mind what platform. I want to get the next generation. The next generation are the ones that are going to bring in additional revenue one way or another. You know, and when I worked in the gym market, that's what we did. When we were building apps and commercial messages in the health and fitness market, we weren't looking at the members now. We're looking at the members in 5 years and 10 years time. And that's when I'm talking about money. You know, it's okay building a series, building a race, building a following in this space. But relatively speaking, you know, compared to something like, what's that, Fortnite, you know, and the daily numbers those platforms get, and I know we're outside of the cycling esports, but the numbers those people get on a daily, hourly basis onto their platform, those are the people I want in this space, because that's when the sport really grows.
Yeah, well, but here's the thing though: is
are we ready for that? Is a different question.
Fortnite's a whole nother topic though, because if you use that example, then maybe Zwift just say, "Well, we're not that interested in sport. We just want people to play our game."
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Because Fortnite's not a great example of esport.
But I think that's a great question.
Fortnite's just fun like that, and people and kids like to play it, like, you know, and it is kind of now amongst the esports crowd, Fortnite's kind of looked at it as the fun kiddie game. Like, it's looked at as like, go play the fun kiddie build game, like that doesn't really have a competitive space that's taken too seriously because it's too fun kiddie, too much throw all different kinds of skins and cosmetics and and mechanics that don't necessarily make sense for competition. Like there's just too much going on that's doesn't make sense for a competitive space within the details of how you win too. And so because of that, Fortnite didn't succeed in that space. Like they had, and it's a perfect example where there was a ton of money and they had some really big show with one really big viewership. And then it just like, and then nothing, because there was no structure of sport underneath it. There was no actual user base of sport product that had anything meaningful of aiming towards some top end. And when people would try and interact in something meaningful towards some sort of top end, it didn't feel well. And so it didn't go anywhere. And then you have other esports that have done the work over, I don't know what we're on, TI like 18 or something now, the international, where they've been completely focused on different versions of the game, balancing, making sure it feels right, building team culture, having a pathway from going to the entry level all the way to the top out of the community, like totally different, and community, a lot of community ownership, right? Like within that space. So like two really different ways of doing things. Go ahead.
Yep. But yeah, but we're asking the same questions now. You know, you've got the competitive esports space. I had a debate with James Barnes, you know, from Next about Zwift Play, because Zwift Play does exactly what you've just said, and analogized, if that's the right word, with Fortnite. It's made it more fun. It's added that gamification. Does that make it a sport, a competitive sport? Question mark. And this is the point that me and James were debating. But it certainly makes it fun. The question is, can we do those two things on one platform, or do we need different platforms to do those two things?
I think those are
one for the future. I think.
I mean, the way that you interact with the game. Okay, yes, in some ways, because that's a whole nother. We gotta move on.
Like, we got ZRL to cover at some point.
That's going down to some like major rabbit hole of like, what do you need in order, and that in and of itself, just the peripherals of how you interact with a game through your game peripherals, like that's like a little tiny pie of the entirety of like, does that count as sport? Like, and I love that topic because it goes over to freaking the whole aim assist, in some ways, like are these or at least like in some ways it coincides with that whole world within the esports thing. And I have some strong opinions on that, but it's interesting point there on the Zwift plays. And it shows the depth of like how many ways you got to get this absolutely right. And, there is I've thrown this quote around quite a lot actually in the last couple of weeks, specifically around esports, and the Overwatch League, and somebody who's been very critical actually of how Overwatch League is not doing that well. And it says that first and foremost, you can never force an esport. Those things were born from efforts of dedicated nerds with a passion for competition and require games where excellence is immediately apparent even to the casual observer. And I think that out of the entire space, that second part of it, Zwift are the closest one. That to the casual observer, you immediately say something that looks like, okay, I understand what's going on here. Like in somewhat. It's still like, whoa, what's going? But you at least get it that there's some racing going on here, and you know what I mean. Like it immediately looks like it has, The other thing though is like the forced part, like, and man, if you want to talk about the forced part, this announcement, I'm like. That's why there's shock. I think like there's like, and it's almost doubling down on some of the ways that I feel like there was already some forced going on. So but we'll see what they do. We'll move on. We'll see now there's a whole, like, I want to not preface, but I want to end this with like, we just said a whole lot of conjecture, like a ton. We have no idea what MyWhoosh and the UCI will do other than that Worlds is going to MyWhoosh. That's all we know. Like, we don't know anything else. Like, so it'll be interesting.
I'm just looking at Connor's comment saying, so how does a scratch race work again? We will get on to ZRL, I promise.
We will. And actually that is going to be, I think let me just take a quick look at the show notes here as we went all over the place. So this week with Coach's Corner, I know a lot of people gave some response and really liked Coach's Corner, and please let us know coaching topics that you would like to know about. I got this week and next week lined up. This week we're going to do crash course for ZRL workouts that you can do alongside of each one of these courses, or at least the 3 types of courses that we have here, with a little bit of tune up in there too. So there's 4 workout types that you can do to grab front as a crash. But because we don't have our other coach alongside us here, we're going to have a little bit lighter on the Coach's Corner this week, but that feature is definitely not going anywhere. And please keep the questions coming toward us for Coach's Corner, because we definitely want to cover every single topic. Next week on Coach's Corner, we're going to be talking about what is the word diet mean, and giving you a clear definition of what diet is, and maybe how to think about dieting, weight gain, weight loss in a different kind of mindset, because I think a lot of the popular mindset around that space is just incorrect. Like, I'm just going to say, like, or isn't helpful. It isn't helpful with a certain kind of mindset that's there, and that there's another mindset you can take on. So make sure to be around for next week's on diet and nutrition. So let's get right in though to Zwift Racing League round 1 preview. We always do this with Si. He comes in for each one of the rounds and gives us an awesome preview. It's kind of a little bit of a piggyback on his recons that he does. And you were actually filming for that this past week as well. Is that going to be live on your YouTube soon?
Yes. Normally the first one goes out 10 days before, and then normally I get the video out on a Wednesday morning, which people hate because they text me. I get messages saying, I'm not even recovered from last night's race and I'm already preparing me for the next one, but that's just the way it goes. But 10 days before, I've done some of the records already. Of course, we've seen some of the routes before as well, but there will be new recons because we've got new formats, new power-ups, which I really like. The way that the distributing power-ups across all the races this time is pretty cool. And then, of course, we've got the scratch race, first time round. That, believe it or not, it's amazed me, but it's the first time we've had a scratch race in ZRL. So race one
is that true? Is that
I
wow?
Think so, yeah.
I
think they've been all points races. I'm sure this is the first time we've had a scratch race.
Wow.
With finish line points only. I mean, the community in chat might correct me, but I'm 99.9% sure that's
crazy.
The case.
That is so crazy to me. That I mean, the only thing. I mean, we didn't have it. We had a timed. We had the duathlon method too, but that's the only other way that we've had where the get as far as you can and get extra points after a certain line. But that's obviously not a scratch race.
Yeah, not in ZRL. I thought you were going to take us back to beta for a moment there, but no, in ZRL, I think this is the first time we've had scratch. So, yeah, race one, scratch race, Scotland, which I think's good considering we've just left Scotland for the UCI Worlds. Rolling Highlands course. I think this is like 33 kilometers, 32 kilometers for this one. You're going to pull it up on screen there. 260 meters of elevation there. 2 points to pick up power-ups on this one. So you've got the breakaway bray, where you're going to pick up the burrito. And first of all, when I read where you were going to pick up the power-ups, I was like, yeah, that's not right. It must be the other way around. But it's right. You get the breakaway bray, you get the burrito, which then you could utilize basically for the sprint segments at the lock loop ending. And then, actually, I'm not sure. I don't think that's a segment. And then, of course, you've got the feather at the lap banner, which is for the breakaway bray climb, essentially. That's where you're going to use it. So for me, everyone.
So you get two. You get two, right? If I'm not incorrect.
The key thing is, well, you get one, but you get the same one. Everyone gets the same one. So at the breakaway bray banner, everyone will get the burrito. Mm-hmm. And then at the loop banner, everyone will get the feather as well. So then it does become about skill and not.
Look at interesting that the power ups have like 0 and 4%. I think there's that's a text. That's not right. I don't think. Well, like 0% and 4%. Of course that's not right. But like interesting. I like the power ups. What are you thinking of the power ups?
Yeah, I like them. What I would have liked to have seen, as it's a scratch race, I would have liked to have seen a different course in Scotland, just being completely honest.
Really?
I don't think there's enough here. Although we've got PD 4.1.
Now, okay, that's the other question. I think we are going to have PD 4.1. I
believe so. I believe so. Yeah, which will hopefully improve the ability to cause breakaways. I just don't think there's enough on this course for a scratch race to force those breaks enough. I'm the kind of individual, I don't want to take it to a sprint.
So what course would you have preferred then? Like, is there one here that you would have preferred?
I know. Muckle Yin.
Muckle Yin, yeah.
Those climbs are long enough that you can get a breakaway, but not too long that your race is over if you get dropped. If you get a couple of riders go up the road on a climb that's a couple of minutes long, and the group is big enough, I've been there, I've done it, you can get them back.
Now, okay, on that front, though, I do want to push back just a little bit. We are AB racers, okay? And I think that Muckle Yin, I think that Rolling Highlands is a good in between that the AB crowd, because I think that the AB crowd has a harder time making breaks happen. I think that there's less discrepancy, there's less percentage of differentiation at the upper end of those. And so I do think that has something to do with why we look at Rolling Highlands like, oh, it's so difficult. And hopefully 4.1 does help out a lot for this Rolling Highlands course. Now, Muckle Yin would have been great, but I think that the C and the D riders, and this is one thing that Zwift Racing League and WTRL Martin Carew does a great job of, because he has the perspective of the C and the D category riders. He thinks a lot about them, and he knows that they really are a big, huge breadth of the riders that enjoy the racing. I think he goes, okay, I'm listening to that top, and I'm listening to those facts guys, and I'm listening to that really passionate group, but he always I feel like he always takes it back one notch from what they're asking for, just to make sure that the entirety of the community can get around. And I think they've hit a pretty good medium here with Rolling Highlands. And if PD 4.1 works, and you know what? I've made it really, here's the thing. There's a nice edge on Rolling Highlands where you can make things happen when you're going past when you're leaving the woods section that's got the false flat, and you're heading on over to the back end of the course past the postcard section, they call it. You can really make some hurt there. You can make some hurt over breakaway brays. I think there's opportunities if you take them right. If you go BL13 style, come on, you sponsor these guys.
I'm not going to disagree. I do agree, and and particularly, like you say, you've got the breakaway bray, but you've also got that loop climb around the castle as well. Those back to back, I think, if with the right tactics. Absolutely, we can see that move. And also, I think you're right.
3 laps.
Yeah, absolutely. And taking in consideration what we've got coming later in the round as well with some of the courses, then you're probably right. It probably is the right decision. Right? But
because Muckle Yin and then race number 4, the season the D's are gonna be like, oh, are you trying to kill me? Like, what the heck?
Yeah. Even race 5 is no gimme with the temple climb as well. But yeah, so that's race 1, scratch race, Rolling Highlands. I think 90% of the time, those A's and B's, it's going to finish in a sprint. I hope it doesn't. I hope PD 4.1 changes it. But hey, I'm happy with that. I think that's good.
Yeah, 100%. Then we move to race 2, and it's a points here. 1 lap, though, but it's one of the newer ones because it includes the addition to McCurry.
Yeah, absolutely. So this is Yamezi, Nyokyo, and Yurikazi all together. So this is the longest course on that map. As you said, the Mercury 40, 5 sprint segments in this one. So it's aero power up all the way. So again, just about skill, just about timing. Absolutely love that. And again,
wow, those are going to be really fast sprints. Every time you get an aero, that's kind of fun, actually. I don't know, those are going to be crazy fast.
Where I see the decisive moment on this course is the Castle Park sprint and the alley sprint, because there's not a lot of time between those 2 sprints. And that alley sprint is 500 meters long. And that's where, we've seen it where we've raced Nyokyo before, and you get those sprints that come every 1,500 meters. That's what breaks down the pack. So if there's any chance of anyone wanting to take those finish line points and that the Shisa sprint, I think it is the last one, then that's where that will break up, I think. But again, all categories, all doing the same route, the same distance in this one. Fastest through, first across the line, plenty of points to be picking up here, and like I say, aero all the way. So this is a good course. I think this is going to be a test. It will certainly be a test.
Yeah, and so we'll bring in a little bit of the coach's corner here on this one. I like this course. This is one of my favorite courses actually out on Zwift. It's the one I've ridden the most, I believe, in McCurry. And for this course, as far as getting prepared for this is going to be your making sure that you've got a good base, good foundation, good SST sweet spot, because you're going to sit in sweet spot quite a lot probably. There's probably not going to be a whole lot of these are going to come down to a lot of kicks. I don't think there's going to be a lot of breakups happening on this course, most likely. Now, on the back end of the McCurry 40, when you get over into Yurikazi, there is a long, steady climb in and out. There's a descent and an up right on that back section. So that is one section that you can do a little bit of something with. And then the climb over to the temple also has a pretty good amount of climbing there as well. But if you can hang on and you're amongst a group that doesn't have a big disparity amongst it when it comes to the abilities, you should be able to sit in if you've done the right amount of work. So this is going to definitely be a preparation for this. Now the preparation for ZRL, this isn't like, oh, you just do this the week before. I'm saying over the next 4 weeks, you include, and this is going to be an SST type of race. Get into some of those SST workouts that are on Zwift. They're listed underneath your 30 minutes, 60 minutes, and 90 minutes that you have to go. Those are one of my go-to. You do that thing once a week, or I would highly suggest that. And then the other thing I would say to get ready for the sprints is there is a workout that you can do that I wouldn't necessarily put into your 2 intensities a week box or even 3 intensity a week box. You can do power work on your recovery days if you're not totally caked, if you're not totally smashed, or on your opener days. There's a really great workout that I give to a lot of my athletes that is a jumps workout. It's old school from the training Bible days. Super simple, but it totally works. The main idea is a depletion of the ATP and a reload of the ATP in your muscles in only that zone. It's 8 to 10 seconds, maybe 12 seconds, a total of 24 to 30 pedal strokes. A pedal stroke is every time your pedal drops, not a full rotation of the crank. You do 5 reps within one set. So it's like 24 to 30 pedal strokes, full gas on the minute for 5 minutes. Well, 4 minutes really, and then you rest the full interval through the 5. Take a break for 5 to 10 minutes. Do it again. And just like when you see like Usain Bolt or the tops, I always give the example of the Olympic sprinters because for some reason people, as soon as they get on a bike, they start thinking about going outside of this zone. Like, I don't know what it is, but when you watch somebody sprint the 100 meters, that's what you're going for. That 9-second 100, that's what you're going for, is like full gas. That's it. Kick 5 times on the minute every minute. That you do that once a week on like your not so high intensity days, either even on your opener days or even on a recovery day. Great workout to get ready for these sprints, mixed with an SST workout once a week. That's going to prep you pretty well for this specific one. So there's your crash course quick coach's corner on the McCurry 40, as well as the other sprint course. Like I think the other sprint course is also the points course. I'll call it points course. It's also going to be with a good way to do that. So I'll just leave that out there. I'll go a little bit more into scratch race ideas in just a minute because I have a feeling there's a whole nother way to win a scratch race. But let's move on. TTT.
Well, race 3, I'm also hoping that you're going to give some insights, or at least I get to see another OMG masterclass on 4.1 team time trying, because this is a relatively flat course. We're in France, race 3. And my French teammates are going to probably grill me about this, but the Roulmer Pool, 1 lap, flattish course, 21.8 kilometers. It's all about getting over this first climb. So we go up the reverse side of the Petit KQOM first of all, and then we take that left turn down the other side and we head towards the Aqueduct KOM. I'm not too concerned about the Aqueduct KQOM. It's nice and short, punch up there, keep the speed up. It's getting all 6 riders over that Petit KOM. But again, this is, of course, once you do that, it is about those tactics. It's about the skill of those 6 riders communicating here and keeping that speed high. And this is why I've been trying to spend some time looking at 4.1. I'm hoping that you do another one of the videos that you did last season, Nathan,
we'll see. Yeah,
where we get to hear the insights of what goes on with the Discord chat with your team. But
video editing is always my bane. It's always my bane. I like this part of I'm sitting there and editing. Oh my gosh. I really do enjoy sharing that though. I really, really enjoy sharing that and giving those insights. And I absolutely love coaching and teaching. That's like one of my favorite things to do in life, 100%. And maybe we'll put something together. Now I want to talk a little bit as far as Coach's Corner stuff on this specifically. This is all FTP and over-unders. That's 100% what it is. But the way that I think that a team should attack this course, as long as they don't blow everybody up, if everybody's showing up and they've got the wherewithal to have a couple of climbers, 3, even 4 climbers rotating at the front, while anybody who can't necessarily hold on to that over effort, I think up front, up this petite KOM, if you've got the matches for it, you risk it. You risk it up front. You get a lot of extra time on that climb since it is early, and you do have the recovery on the other side of it, and you can rotate through lightly through on the other side of it. I think it's worth it to burn some pretty intense matches early on, get some time, get some recovery on the back end, and then get into a steadier rhythm through the last 3/4 of this course. I really think that's worth it.
Okay, that's interesting because I'm really glad we raised that, because I was thinking the other way, because it's not a huge, but it is quite long, but it's just not massively steep. So I was just wondering whether you just stick with the engines, and you just diesel power it all the way around on this one. But yeah, fair point.
I think a little bit. I think half a watt per kilogram over, even a full one over what you're rotating at with somebody on the front. Like, so just as example, like, no Fort Bragg hard flex. I would pull on the front at this section 7 instead of 6, 6.5 to 7 on the front, and then have people sitting in at 5.5 to 6.5. Hold on, guys, hold on. And the guys who can rotate it as best as they can, and you will gain, I think, a solid 10 to 15 seconds over the competition who are not doing that. Now, if you blow up on the back end of the course because of that, you can't recover that. You don't got good fitness. You're not coming in with a good base from your outdoor season or whatever. Maybe that's not the call, and you look more for just the engine. But in my opinion, these climbs, and we see it in the in real life time trials as well. We see guys go out real steady or whatever, and there's a climb at the end, and then they smash the climb, and that's when all the time is actually made. Uphill is just where you win races in cycling. So.
Yeah, no, and it's like I say, it's 21.8. So, yeah, I think that's going to be an interesting race. And, I think both of the TT courses this year, the flat, but I think as we've got the new pack dynamics, people love TTTs. I'd normally be a bit skeptical about having 2 in, but I think it's the right call this time around. Race 4, this is the tester. This is the one that everyone will be questioning, Mark, which is again another scratch race. This is where I think
can I do something? I'm sorry. Real quickly here. I just want to also. Good workouts to do. FTP, real quick. Just want to FTP push. This is one that I've got organized in my Zwift. The idea of over-unders for the TTTs. Something along these lines is going to be really helpful mixed in with the SST. Make sure you're doing that SST or sweet spot once a week. Get a good base in as well with some zone 2s. But the crash course idea here is that, like, once a week or every 2 weeks, you're throwing in something that's focused on over-under around your FTP. That's going to get used to going over it, though, and not just sitting at it. If you're just sitting at it, you're going to be maybe in a little bit of trouble. And go do some WTRL TTTs and get ready. There's your crash course Coach Corner on those ones.
So scratch race 4, Yorkshire Tour of Chewy. Well, this is the tester for me. This is the tough one. I mean, I know these
this is
two
one of the hardest courses in the whole. Hardest courses.
It is, and I think this is the right course for a scratch race, because you've got this Yorkshire KQOM. It's 2 laps as well in this one, so we've got 22 kilometers there. It's 400 meters of climbing this one, but it's not the actual segment on this one that I think will, because it's a scratch race ultimately anyway. But I don't think that's going to be the decisive place. It's going to be that pot bank climb.
Which
comes
100%.
Midway down the back end, where you got that.
The first climb, up, right? that reverse KOM is kind of like the appetizer.
For people like me,
it's the appetizer. Yeah. It's like loosen up their legs, and then there's even another climb though. That's the thing about this course is like you do that thing, and then at the bottom of this thing, you've got another climb into the fields, and then you hit Pot Bank on top of it. I mean, and then after Pot Bank, you even got another climb going toward the finish line. I mean, I'm loving that it's a scratch race, but essentially, I mean, I think this is going to be all out mayhem. Even with the current pack dynamics, I never come to the line with a group on this one. Ever.
No. It is going to be all over the place on this course, as I think the next one will as well. But yeah, there's going to be riders all over the course on this one, and in whatever category you're in. For sure. So good course, great for the scratch race. Very attritional this one, because again, as I just said there, I think, did you do Wednesday Worlds on this one? But I think I've raced around this in some.
I may have done Wednesday Worlds. I may have.
Yeah, Whereas I've survived with those hitters up that first climb, but then you get to Pot Bank, and then even the climb after that, as you turn onto that long straight road, and I know I'm
Yeah, and
getting
it's
spat
very
out at that point.
tactical. It's very, very tactical then at that point, even if you are with anybody. Having the anvil and the feather is super interesting. Using those at key moments to decimate your competition is
Or survive.
or survive. This is not a race where you're waiting to see how it plays out necessarily, especially in that second lap. In the first lap, if you can hang on and but you really got to follow the moves, especially on Pont Bank. You let a gap go, it's most likely not coming back if there's a few riders up there. If they're able to get that separation, they're strong, they can put their heads down, and they have all the motivation in the world to just go, because it isn't like the course is getting any easier. So this is definitely a course. Now, I'm just going to throw a little coach's corner here on this one. MTB hill attacks or something along these lines is the full-on anaerobic with a little bit of threshold type effort in here. Something like this, or you could also, or just throw in straight up anaerobic work, one workout a week or every other week at this point to get that anaerobic engine going. That is what this course is. This course is a fully anaerobic attacks. You're going to be looking to try and have the highest end as you possibly can on the anaerobic side. They are shorter climbs, so you don't necessarily have to go into the 5 minutes. I would maybe shoot for that minimum anaerobic effort when it comes to intervals is about 3 minutes. I'd shoot around that 3 minutes. A lot of times when I'm trying to get ready for this, you could go to it and do, I don't think there's a 3 minute climb in there, but it's always better to sharpen the scalpel for being sharper than what it's actually needed in the races. So 3 minutes, either if it takes you 3 minutes to do hilly KOM forward climb on Watopia, or the reverse climb takes about 3 minutes or so. If you're around an A racer, do those full gas, do repeats of about 5 of those in a row, with the rest time being the descent, and then do it again. Total of 20 to 40 minutes of time of anaerobic work within the workout. I would say a minimum of 15 to 20 at the CD, and the uppers into that 30 to 40 with the A's would be that's my coach's corner throw at you for getting prepped for that race specifically. It's nothing but zone 5 work, zone 6 work.
Yeah, and I guess for this next one, it also will probably play into this a little bit as well. So race 5, we're back to a points race. And again, you've got 3 segments on this one, all climbs. Now, the first 2 climbs fall with, I guess within that 3 to 4 minute section. So you've got the Nyoko segment first, where you're going into the rooftop KQOM, which again, survival for riders like me from that point of view. And then you've got the Castle KOM, and then you've got the Temple KQOM I say right at the end. Only the Ds this time round are going to finish at the top of the Temple climb, as long as I understand it. The C, B, and A riders are all going to descend off the Temple and head towards the finish line for another 10 kilometers.
Oh, really?
Well,
interesting.
Yeah, which is interesting. I've been thinking about that, and I thought, well, is the race going to be over by the time we get to the top of the Temple anyway? Because essentially that's where the Ds are going to finish. Or what is the advantage of having that rolling 10 kilometers descent to the finish line after that climb? I'm not sure after those 3 climbs in particular, because that Temple climb is about 6 minutes, if I remember rightly. It was about 6 minutes for me. I won't put it that way. I don't want Bam Bam coming in and giving me some stick for that one, for example. But again, is a lot going to change as you descend round the other side and back towards the finish? From that point of view, which will be
I think it's a time thing. I don't think it necessarily matters. Yeah. You know what I mean? I think it's just like, I don't want to be here all night. I think that's more when it comes to the D category. This is one of the best courses. It's a race of attrition. This one kind of puts it all together. So like all of the crash course workouts are used here. There's anaerobic, there's steady state, there's you're gonna have big punches, like when it comes to the sprint sections. You're gonna have to unless you're a ringer, unless you're like one of the all-stars of your team, you might have to pick your battles about where you want people in your team to go after certain points. save somebody for the temple, right? There's big points to be had there. Save somebody for the climb up and over the top of in the Nyokyo. Like make sure that you're. And the other thing is that the dirt climb in the temple might be worth a bike swap if you're in a category that you can go with. Like you come to an agreement with your team. And that like, hey, we're just going to go for these few in here are going to go for the points at the top. We're going to do a bike swap at the bottom. We might not be, is it first across the line? Now I might be totally off here because if it's first across the line, I'm just stupid.
All segments will be first across the line and fastest through the segments on this one.
Yeah. So you could just go for fastest segment on some of especially on that dirt climb with a bike swap. And a team that's working together to go get that, that's not a bad tactic.
We have done this course before, and I do remember, I remember, seeing a bike swap, and then actually those riders surviving in that front group for that, because you've got a dirt descent off the other side, then you drop down through the castle and head back towards Nyokyo. And I remember seeing a couple of riders when I watched your shows back then as well, because maybe that was 2 seasons ago now when we did this before. There's a little dirt section as you come through the tunnel back into Nyokyo who kicked there, got a gap and held it towards that finishing
I think
there.
there's one. I think there's one individual who did that, and that dirt section. If you can hang on, kick away there. Oof.
Didn't we see KBH do it as well in one of the Premier events back in the day? If I remember rightly. Yeah. So. Yeah, a lot to think about there, and we'll try and cover that in the recons. But there's
a lot of analysis. I mean, that one, like I said, that one has everything. Like this is your full mix of all Zwift racing, different kinds of things. So I mean, the anaerobic efforts they'll help you, the up and overs, the SST, all that's going to help you on this. Get that engine going. It's later in the season, so you have a lot of opportunity to throw some of these ideas of workouts, of working your sweet spot, making sure you're working your sprint. And working your anaerobic a lot, that'll probably be primed and ready to go by race 4 anyways too. So especially after doing a tour to it well.
Yeah. What I'm saying there to Martin, if he's listening, is I'm also happy to just finish on top of the temple so I can go home early as well after this race. There's no problem there. So, no issues at all.
Now we've got a super classic finish here. I mean, this is as class as it gets. It's a classy way to finish too, I feel like. In a proper fashion of like just throw them out there and get the race of truth on an old school course that's a pure TTT course.
I've got nothing more to say. I know there's going to be some comments about we're back here again, and when I first saw it, I thought the same. Okay, but you're right. This is the true test of a team and the skill, and in particular because the new dynamics, and I think they're going to play a role. And I think your skill level in terms of team time trial. Have to be so on point now.
For those listening podcast, we actually didn't say it out loud yet. So race 6 is Greatest London Flat Team Time Trial. Go ahead, Si.
Yeah, Greatest London Flat Team Time Trial. We've been here plenty of times. 31 kilometers. It's fast and flat. I guess the only kick we've got as we come out the subway there. But this is the true test, as any time trial is, whether that be individual or team. This is the true test. And for me, historically, this has always been the weak point of the team, which is why now I'm quite looking forward to this. This is where I'm going to be spending my time personally over the next couple of weeks, is watching NZ Bros and Aaron's videos. Hopefully you're going to put one out there and we can finish off the season in style, because I know you had Holly on a couple of weeks ago. Holly has got one of those famous helmets, and I'm just going to put it out there, Holly. I'm definitely going to get one this time round, just so she doesn't give me any more grief in the community. But yeah, good course, great test of the team, and for the first time, I'm looking forward to this one.
Yeah, and I mean, I really enjoy at the end of the season just a pure test of skill on a pretty pancake flat. Up front, you do have a little bit of a climb, for a moment there into the regular section of the regular course. Yes. A little bit of climb into Trafalgar Square, but besides that, there isn't a whole lot going on. I think that you also have that little bit in the Surrey, like there's a little bit of a climb also out in those
which get into the
Surrey
park,
hills, and that's the one thing I would say about this is kind of the opposite of what I said about the first TTT, where like big risk up front, you definitely want to on Rulmapool, I think in my opinion, throw down some big watts on that first climb. This one is going to be way more about just maintaining extremely high speed and extremely high watts, good roll through, really, really making sure that the speeds never fall all the way through. You roll into the little bits of climbs that are there with a good amount of roll through. Have somebody hammer over the top of it as best you can while everybody hangs on. Roll over the other side. No stagnation. This is going to just all about being an absolute freight train from start to finish. That's really what this is about. And I would say that practicing on a flat course that you really get your pack dynamics, you really figure out how your team best uses its TTT strategies. It'll be really interesting how things change with 4.1 though. We haven't seen that yet. And there may be differences about how TTT teams at that point actually do interact with the polls and how they end up taking them. So that's one thing that I would definitely, prior to this one especially, and also prior to Room of Pool, get on a WTRL TTT, do a Thursday when the competition is on, and there's nothing, you can't really simulate that. You know what I mean? You have to be in a competition state in order to really get the best test of how well you're TTTing, in my opinion.
Yeah, can't argue with that. So, like I say, hopefully you're going to get that video out there. I'm going to mention it again. But that's it. That's round one.
So are you going to be doing recons of each and every one of these? And when do they release again? Wednesday, you said?
They'll go out 10 days before the first race. So the first one will go out 10 days before the first race. And
September 2nd. September 2nd is what we're looking at.
That's when it goes out. And then, each recon is released on the Wednesday morning before. So you've got 6 days to review, watch it 100 times, and like, share, and comment on all those good things.
Heck yeah, it'll be good. It'll be real good. So that is ZRL season preview with a little bit of Coach's Corner added in there. I think we did all the key points, what teams can do to get ready to get prepped and everything. So let's go ahead and move on. The jersey pick of the week, everybody, as we wrap up this episode number 57, is going to be this rad race kit. Now, what's interesting here is I was unfamiliar with this kit, but I didn't know that I was unfamiliar with this version of this kit. I looked it up, and Zwift have had a couple of different versions actually of this kit in game. It looks like there was an older one that used to be in here, and it looks like they update it every year. And it's a Canyon thing. They use Gore, it looks like, to produce them, and they have some sort of like group workout rides actually. So as far as the looks of it go, though, it really stands out to me.
I love it. I think it's great. That's one of the best in-game kits I've seen for a good while. Actually, I like the sort of the glitchy, wild nature of it for sure.
Yeah, and they had some. I think that they did a better job actually on this one than past. I'll try and show some of the past unlocks. Zwift Insider actually has an article on some of the past unlocks for it. So Rad Race used to be a green kit like this. Now I don't know. This one's probably still in game. So it looks like they do a update on this kit specifically once in a while for their events. If I go through to the event tag, I wonder if they've got some coming up. There's no results for it at the moment. So I have a feeling that this is maybe Anna's got some.
Well, Anna's given us her rating already. Anna's given it a 7.5.
I would give that actually more than I give that an 8. I give it an 8. I'm not going to go higher than 8 on that though. I can see why 7.5. I give it an 8. I'm
with you.
Yeah. 8 on that
solid
one.
Let us know a solid 8 from me, yeah. Almost a 9, but it's a solid 8.
Yeah, for sure. Good race kit, and good to see that Canyon still doing things in game. I'm wondering if that's an updated kit though. That's like has some sort of something coming with events or something along those lines, because that was the 2022 kit that I saw that we just showed that with that white and green. So if they are updating, perhaps something's on the way. So, well, what's going on for the next week for you, Si, in the world of all things Zwift and virtual cycling, etc.? I mean, things are ramping up pretty quickly here. Are you pretty busy with Level Velo, BL13 things going on? I mean, you've been doing a lot with Zumini K and your podcast over there with Christopher Schwenker. Like, what's happening?
Yeah. Me and Chris have got a lot going on. So it's just ramping up. I've still got to try and manage a 9-to-5 job at this point as well. But the Level Velo, it's that time of year again now where we've done IRL kits before in the past, but this is the first time I think where the kits that we're doing for ZRL teams is almost on par with the kit that we did the start of summer for the outdoor teams this time. So, we're busy. We're just waiting for some new kits to be delivered from the factory this time. They're going out. Of course, now we've got to get on and get this ABUS Synergy kit done as well. So we've been doing that this week. And I've also got to try and get my training to some kind of normality. Now sort of my main focus for the year with the Worlds is done. We're back to the ZRL, and that'll be my focus as well. And there's I think there's other race series community. I see a lot of community events popping up there as well. I've seen the start of an elimination race happening as well out there in the community that BL13 were part of, along with my team recently. So a lot going on, but at this moment in time, it's just about getting kit out there to the team. So we've got plenty of kit out there for the time September 12th comes around. What about you, Nathan?
I've got so I did actually get out for a ride yesterday. I almost just went back to sleep because I was like, am I still sick? Like when you're right on that edge. So if you're just joining in to the live show, talked about over the weekend, got a little bit of sick, but was able to have a good result at Order Short. I actually ended up on the podium still, but I got dropped. I didn't mention that part. I still got 5th, but I ended up in a solo roll at like just sub threshold for 2.5 hours because I just didn't have that high engine. And then had a bug. I've been really achy, but not like I didn't get fever, and I didn't but I had to just rest like a ton, and I couldn't really work out. And anytime I walked upstairs, I got winded and really I'm just done. But I somehow it was just a background bug. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. Like it was able to not fully get the horrible symptomatic. So that's good. And I got out for that endurance ride yesterday. So I'm really happy about that. We'll do a little bit of tune up today, and we've got to defend the series lead for the Wisconsin Off-Road Series this weekend and the following weekend. And there's some pretty good competition showing up for it. So it's going to be interesting to see if we can get a couple of dubs. I think I have to at least, there's a couple individuals I at least have to be ahead of. And if I need to get a couple of wins to really solidify it. So that's what I'm up to, is prepping for those, continue to get ready for those. And then the focus is going to go to some ZRL, as well as then Schwamagon and Iceman, etc. throughout the rest of the year. And then our MTB season will be done. We're also talking about maybe racing in Brazil this winter too. So there's all kinds of stuff going on. We'll keep everybody updated on all that though. But well, that's what's happening with me, everybody. This has been an awesome episode. We, if you're just joining in, we talked MyWhoosh, we talked IndieVelo partnering with Zwift with the verification performance. Teams are out there drafting riders. Lots of stuff happening in the esports space. Coach's Corner. Hey, everybody, make sure on any of these topics, our socials are open. Make sure to message us. Let us know what you're thinking, especially in the comments. Let us know below if there's a topic that you want covered. Coach's Corner, esports, Zwift workouts, and whatever Zwift features that are coming that you want to see, etc. Put them in the comments. We'd love to cover all of that stuff. Now, this is a podcast. Again, just a reminder, if you want to download it, you head on over to ZwiftCommunityLive.com. You can find it over there or anywhere that you do download your podcast. We've been live on Twitch, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitter. You can go find Si Bradeley at Si Bradeley on Instagram, and over on YouTube, it's just Si Bradeley, right?
So, it's Si Bradeley everywhere: TikTok, Instagram, Facebook.
Man, he
YouTube,
grabbed that one.
Si Bradeley.
He grabbed that one, man.
It's not a popular name, I can tell you.
Like, I don't know how Nathan Guerra ended up where I had to have like something on, like right when I was getting my accounts and everything, there was this other guy, Nathan Guerra, who was like in the business world and had all of them taken. I was like, oh man.
There's only one Nathan Guerra, right?
Appreciate that, Si. Well, thanks everybody for tuning in. We'll be back for episode number 58 next week. Just as a heads up, don't miss that one. We'll be talking what is diet, what's the definition of that, and how to take a mindset and how to change a mindset maybe on that for what it means to get the best performance out of your diet. Thanks everybody for tuning in as always. For myself and Si, and looks like Anna's in the comments as always. Right on.